Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk with you guys about some tips on mindset and preparation for classroom management. This is coming from a high school English teacher perspective, and I have taught for, at this point, 7.5 years. And currently, going into this coming school year, I am most likely going to be teaching yet again 9th grade English. But before we get to those tips, let's go ahead and make ourselves a fun little drink, and then we'll chat. Well guys, I don't know if there is ever a perfect time to talk about classroom management than when I am so rested during the summer vacation, but maybe now is the best time to talk about classroom management. Obviously, I am not in my classroom right now, but going into today's video, when it comes to mindset and preparation for classroom management, first of all, I do want to kind of give ourselves a frame of reference, maybe, before we go into the tips. So first of all, I do want to emphasize how every teacher is different and every classroom is different. I am one person who has my own personality as a teacher, my own style, my own what have you. And there are, in my case, 7 different classrooms of students who, even further than that, each class is made of maybe 20 or 30 or so different personalities. So those of you who teach understand how complex teaching can so quickly become. So I wanted to kind of put that out there and recognize that every teacher is different. We each have our own personalities, styles, and I recognize that every classroom is different. First category that I want to start us out with is like, where do we even start? Okay, if you have taught before, you kind of understand how important it is for that very first day of school, for the first week of school, first quarter of school, to really implement different things that you have already predetermined you're going to do to make your classroom run smoothly. Even aside from things like procedures and this and that, you have to decide before that first day of school what your purpose is with classroom management and reminding yourself of the purpose of classroom management. In my opinion, classroom management is there to help both the students and yourself as the teacher be able to have an enjoyable environment in which students are meant to learn the content that you're trying to teach them. And, in my opinion, another purpose of classroom management is for your own sanity as a teacher. And at that, even for the students' sanity themselves. Once you've kind of realized and remembered what the purpose is of classroom management, then you need to decide for yourself what those classroom procedures are going to look like. AKA, do you expect students to raise their hand before they talk? Do you expect for them to raise their hand before they get a tissue, throw something away, ask to use the restroom? Like, some of these things are like no-brainer, like, oh yeah, duh, I'm going to have them raise their hand before they answer or raise their hand to ask to use the restroom. But it's certain things that you have to tell them. You have to explicitly say what you expect of them. Once you figured out what you want your procedures to be, then once it comes to that first day of school, you need to actually teach that to the students. But something that I learned from the Unteachables Academy, I think is what she still calls it. I will put her Instagram handle somewhere on the screen and also link her below. It is through Claire English's classroom management course, where I truly felt like I knew the psychology kind of behind why I do certain things in my classroom management, and really helped me feel more true to myself of, okay, this is who I am as a person, and this is how I feel comfortable implementing these things. So a lot of the ideas that I'll share are from Claire English's course. Of course, I'm not gonna disclose all of her documents and pamphlets that I got during that course, but I'll also just link all her things down below. Okay, so you've established in your mind, you know what classroom procedures you want. It's time to communicate that to the students. I am going to put in the description the barest minimum form of what Google slide presentation I use to communicate these things. And it's just an idea. But sometime on the first day of school, after things like taking attendance, and I do have another activity I do before getting into talking about the classroom management and procedures and things like that. But I put up this Google slide presentation where I go through each topic that I am going to discuss with the students. The presentation includes things like asking the students, what do they think respect is? What expectations do they have of me as their teacher? What expectations do they think I should have of them as my students? What do they think is the importance of classroom procedures? And just different questions to take them through to help them understand my thought process, but also for me to understand where they are coming from and what kind of paradigm that they're using, their way of thinking about the classroom. And to me, that helps them have a little bit of buy-in so that they know, okay, I do kind of have a purpose in establishing what we want our classroom to look like. And it helps them feel like they have a part in that. Of course, you as the teacher have already decided what you're going to do, but it helps them see that you care about what they think, but also, yes, there might be some compromise if, like, a student brings something up or like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's fine if we do this instead. But overall, you have already decided what you're going to do. You are just trying to get the students also involved in that discussion and start building that classroom community that is so very important. So you've had that kind of classroom discussion with them about expectations in general, respect in general, procedures in general. Typically from that presentation, and you'll see this on the Google Slides that I'm sharing with you guys, you'll see that I have a spot for like going over the course syllabus and kind of, implement there whatever kind of school specific things that your school does and wants you to do on that first day. And I promise there is a purpose in including them in the classroom discussion. For one, having them either write it down and collaborate with each other, even if it's something as simple as, okay, you ask the question, they write down their answer themselves, and then they turn to someone else and share their answer, and then we go to the whole classroom discussion. And it really ends up being a productive time, in my opinion. And it helps that first day not feel like, oh, just the teacher is talking, 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 and it's so boring, but it helps it be a little bit more active. So I moved spots for us because next thing I'm going to talk with you is about implementing those classroom expectations. And if anything, this is so simple, and it's something that I was kind of taught at my private Christian college for classroom management, but until I took Claire English's course on classroom management, I really did not think about these things. And they are just super simple tips that any teacher can use to help in their specifically teacher presence. So when it comes to classroom management and teacher presence, it is helpful to kind of have like your main spots where you give instruction. Obviously, it's the students' jobs to, track you and to look with their eyes and follow you around the classroom. But if you can kind of choose your certain spots where you give your instructions, it can be very helpful to help instill that routine of, oh, this is one of her spots. She's giving instructions. Here's what I mean. Okay, let's say that you guys are the back of the classroom, but let's say that you give your instructions at the front of the classroom. Now, it could be front of the classroom. It could be, let's say that there's like a whiteboard over here. You give instructions from the whiteboard, like a side whiteboard. Or let's say you are by your desk and you're also giving instructions by your desk. Like maybe those are your 3 spots. Now, once you have gotten to your spot, something with teacher presence that is so simple, but you do need to consciously think about it, at least in my opinion you do, is to make sure that your feet are planted on the ground. Your feet are also just about shoulder width apart. Kind of, you can think of this as a power stance. Like, humor me for a second. Kind of like how you have superheroes that have their power stance or whatever, makes them feel very powerful. Like, kind of think of this as your teacher stance. Feet shoulder width apart. You could have your hands kind of over to the side. Maybe I like doing this kind of like folding my hands in front of me and then placing them in front of me. And you have feet planted, shoulder width apart, hand either on the sides, maybe in front of you, not really in your pockets. I don't have pockets in these overalls, but not really back in your pockets that, makes you seem too chill or whatever. And don't get me wrong, this kind of stance where you are, kind of chill or whatever, that has its purpose specifically when it comes to student feedback. And let's say that your student is sitting here and is asking for help and you're kind of in an aisle and you're talking to them hands in pockets, relaxed, whatever, that's fine. I'm talking about when you are about to give instructions. So not only do you have feet shoulder width apart, hands in front of you or on your side, you do want to make sure that you have your shoulders back. So feet planted flat, hands kind of in front of you on the side. Make sure your shoulders are back, or even just the idea that make sure that your shoulders are straight, you're in position. You're not slouching, you're standing straight. So you have this stance, which is great. So track with me, keep these things in mind. Feet shoulder width apart, hands to your side or in front of you, shoulders back. Now, here's the thing where I have needed to work on this a lot, and that is the idea of lowering your voice. When I talk normally, it's, as I talk normally, our voice fluctuates, right? But when it comes to helping train your students to recognize this tone of voice and for you to start having control of the classroom and to really establish that, keep your voice as naturally low as possible. Meaning, you're not like talking like this, like you're not talking in this register a lot, or you're not like ending your sentences kind of like or like ending your sentences up and kind of doing it like that. Now I know every voice is different, personalities are different. We have established this. But get this. Yes, that voice can be great in different circumstances, like maybe you're trying to joke or tell a story or something. Cool. But I'm talking about when you're giving instruction. It's like, all right, everyone. Oh, this is what I do as well, which has kind of worked. I'm sure it's kind of annoying to some of the students, but this is what I do to kind of get students' attention. So like, let's say that students are talking, chatting, okay, and then it's like I go to my particular spot, I do my stance, I'm like, all right, everyone, go ahead and pause on the talking at this time. Okay, and like I'm smiling as I'm doing this because if any of my students are watching this, I doubt they'd watch this video, but some of them, a lot of them, know I have a YouTube channel, so if they're watching this, they're probably going to get like some sort of, not really PTSD, but kind of like an, oh, I heard this so often in Miss Klein's classroom, but bear with me. But I say like, all right, everyone, go ahead and pause on the talking at this time. And what I like to do is it might seem elementary for those of you fellow high school people, middle school people, might seem elementary. There's no shade or shame on elementary. I admire those elementary teachers so much. But what I like to do is to put my finger like to my mouth. I guess I kind of put my other hand in a ball kind of on my stomach, and I just do this. This is kind of like the universal like sign of, okay, be quiet kind of thing. So giving the students like a visual clue, and also saying kind of like the, all right, everyone, go ahead and pause on the talking at this time. Just kind of do that. That has worked for me pretty well, especially when it comes to that visual cue and you're in one of your spots for sharing instructions or getting the class's attention. It is very important that you do pause yourself. No more talking, you pause, and you wait for the students to stop talking. If a few seconds pass by and all of that and still are not quiet, say, all right, everyone, pause on the talking at this time. Like, say it again, because sometimes some students might not hear that you said it. I've learned in my experience. So it is very important to pause and to wait. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully know that there are some classrooms that, and I've had them before, some classrooms that are very unruly. And I will get into, I think in another video before my school year starts at least, get into another video about what you do when you truly have an unruly, it seems like an uncontrollable kind of classroom. And I'll kind of dive into what my experience has been like. And again, how I used Claire English's The Unteachables class to help me figure out what I should do. But on that note about making your voice in the lower register part of your voice, also keep in mind that the end of your sentences as well should go down at the end. Obviously, when you are asking a question, your inflection, I think is what it's called, your inflection or intonation or whatever goes up at the end, such as, oh, hey, how are you guys doing today? Or what do you think? Like, you kind of like end it up like that, compared to go ahead and take out your notebooks, take out your planners, turn to page 55. Like, it's going down, you could say. So keep those things in mind. I know that was really simple. Please comment down below if you would like more classroom management tips. Also, feel free to comment down below any other general classroom management tips that you have. These, I promise, are not all the things that I do to manage my classroom, but those are just some of the tips that have really worked for me. Don't forget about the Google Slide presentation that I've linked below, that you can feel free to make a copy of it, make it your own, but that has really helped me, especially on the very first day of school. But that's all I have for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more content from me. And I will catch you guys in my next video. See ya!